Hello and welcome to Small Business Snippets, the podcast from smallbusiness.co.uk. I'm your host, Anna Jordan. In this episode, we have Theo Paphitis, businessman, retail expert, former dragon, and shopkeeper. Born in Cyprus, Theo came to the UK at the age of 7, living in Manchester before living in London. He left school at the age of 16 with no qualifications after having struggles with dyslexia. He started work as a filing clerk in a Lloyds of London brokerage, moving on to Watches of Switzerland at the age of 18. He had a stint in insurance, then returned to retail, taking on names such as Ryman, Senza and Robert Dyas. In spring 2011, he launched lingerie brand Boux Avenue. Since then, he's created the Theo Paphitis Retail Group, encompassing the aforementioned retail businesses and the London Graphic Centre, which he acquired in 2016. In 2005, Theo joined Dragon's Den and in 2012 decided to leave to focus on his growing retail empire. He came back for a few episodes last year to fill in for Tucker Suleiman. 10 years ago, Theo started Small Business Sunday, hashtag SBS, where entrepreneurs describe their businesses via Twitter. Theo retweets his favourites to his audience to boost their exposure. Today, we're going to be talking about retail in the age of COVID 19 and what it's like to be a business owner with dyslexia. Hi, Theo.
Hello. That was some introduction.
Oh, I know. I tried to shorten it, but it could have just come out as Theo's done quite a lot of stuff. So,
It keeps me
how are
busy.
you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very, very soggy Wimbledon.
Oh, yeah. It seems like that all over the UK. I'm up in Scotland and it's very much the same, although that's, you know,
I, I,
par for the
I,
course
I,
for us.
I was, I did refrain from actually butting in there, but thank you for doing it for me.
Right, okay. Let's get cracking. I'd like to first go way back to, I believe you were 15 years old at the time. You opened up a school tuck shop, so retail must have been in your blood from quite early on. What was the inspiration in doing that?
Well, the inspiration was actually a need. It wasn't that I didn't even know what retail was. I've been in shops, obviously, but at that age, 14, 15, there was a need. At the
Mm.
school, we didn't have a tuck shop. And on the basis that I didn't really enjoy school very much and I wasn't the model student in classes, when I suggested to the school that they should fund me to do so, they jumped at it because it meant I didn't have to sit around class for too long being disruptive. I'm sure that's the main reason. I thought it was a great opportunity. It was great fun. It was great to learn on the job, overcome problems, which there was many. Everything from litter to security to stock control to all the things that our shopkeepers do day to day now.
So your first retail job was in Watches of Switzerland, and you sold a Rolex on your first day. Tell me what that was like and how that sparked your love of retail.
Well, first of all, my first day it was all very very different for me from what I was doing before, where I was an office clerk, and there was no paperwork involved. Just loads and loads of shiny things, watches, all bits and pieces. And I spent the morning having my induction by the manager, and then I was let loose on the shop floor. A customer came in, and there I was, excelling the virtues of the Rolex Oyster that I'd only just heard of barely an hour ago, and all the information that had been fed into me came blubbering out with some authority. And there you go, I had a sale. It was amazing.
Well, one of the things that we know from this year is that online sales have absolutely exploded. What other trends have you noticed, changes in consumer habits from this year?
Well, when we went into lockdown, I said quite publicly that the longer this went on for, consumer habits will change and would change quite significantly. And in fact, within the second week, I could see that digital was accelerating unprecedented rates. And I estimated at the time that we'd had at least 5 years of acceleration in the adoption of digital just in the time of lockdown, which was end of March 2020 to the end of June. Eventually, it was always in our business plan and in our investment in our digital side of our business that a lot of the business will go online. So we'd already invested quite heavily as a business, but the acceleration was in those 3 months was phenomenal. We were expecting to get that level of increase in about 5 years' time.
Actually, coming back to that, your business portfolio is, as we've heard in the intro, is made up of a lot of retail firms that are quite traditional to the high street. That must mean you have quite a lot of faith in the future of retail on the high street, despite what some naysayers might say, and an encouragement maybe to move towards more predominantly digital businesses. What would you
Well,
say to that?
I think, like many retailers, we've got two legacy, very traditional brands in Ryman and Robert Dyas. Robert Dyas has been trading for over 150 years, and Ryman for over 125. So there's been a big part of the fascia of the United Kingdom high streets over those times. But our services within those and the things that we sell within those businesses have changed quite tremendously in that time. And we always anticipated that certain of our stores just wouldn't make it out the other side. That was always going to be the case. It was just a matter of when. There was no point keeping a store open if you're the last man standing and nobody's visiting the high street. Or, in fact, because of such short-termism and, quite honestly, work-shy politicians not reviewing the business rates, which in itself it has killed so many high streets. It's not the rent; it's actually the ancillary costs. We'd already planned for that. But that doesn't mean that we had any plans to shut all our stores. Far from it. We just need to make sure that we focus on the stores where there was still a vibrant football and community, and that was always the plan, and still remains the plan.
You've talked about an acceleration in adopting technology. Do you think there will be some sort of push for politicians to reduce business rates? Because it has been talked about for some time.
Well, it's been talked forever, but I use my words very very carefully when I use them. And I use the word lazy. I use it a lot when it comes to various people that held the seat at number 11 that just couldn't be bothered to put the work in to repurpose business rates. I mean, business rates is an archaic tax from the 1500s. I mean, ye-old internet shop did not exist in the 1500s. The exchequer needs income. Of course, the exchequer needs income. How are we going to pay for all our services? But you can't just keep loading it up on what is a very easy tax to collect and then put people out of business because you reach the law of diminishing returns. They needed to repurpose taxation to fit the new modern digital age because it's very hard for people to compete paying rent and rates when you've got people trading out of warehouses and contributing very little. So it does need to be balanced, always has needed to be balanced, and even more so now. Now, of course, since March, present Chancellor did the absolutely right thing and suspended business and gave a business rates holiday. That expires in March 21, and it'd be interesting to see what he does then. I can't believe for 1 minute he would even contemplate bringing it back. Because if he does, I mean, that will spell the demise of many, many high streets and trusted names within those high streets.
What do you think should happen instead?
I think we've got to relook at the way we collect taxes. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It requires work, but we've got to look at different ways of collecting taxation, whether it's a sales tax or any other form of tax that you put on that is fair and allows people to trade on a level playing field.
I mean, arguably, I think for a long time, the worry has been, I suppose, the wealthy individuals that benefit from having those business rates and those high costs in place.
So the fact remains that with landlords, we've been able to negotiate. As footfall has gone down in various parts of the country, we've been able to sit down with landlords and say, look, we're taking a lot less money now. If you want us to remain in your store, then we can only afford to pay X or Y. And in the main, they've agreed. You can't, we've got so many stores where the rates actually are higher than the rent. That can't be right because you can't obviously negotiate with the exchequer.
Absolutely. Would there be a potentially a different type of businesses that would move into empty spaces in the future, especially once things start to settle
I mean, what we've
post COVID?
seen is the conversion of many, many high streets into old age people's villages, where they've just built loads and loads of retirement homes, sheltered accommodation, because it's within like, close proximity, right on top of the high street. Now, if that's what we're planning, create to convert high streets into retirement villages, then that's a different story altogether, because that's what we're going to get. But high streets have been really been the backbone and of the community. So you start destroying it, and everybody then stays in their home, and you've got millions and millions and millions of vans driving around, polluting the atmosphere, delivering a £4 or £5 or a £3 product. Does that really make sense?
What do you think about digital tax?
It has to come. If we're going to collect, if the Exchequer does need to collect income, and that's a really good way of doing it.
I'll move on a little bit. We talked in the intro about Small Business Sunday, which was launched as of recording 10 years ago yesterday. We're on the 12th of October, so you've just had your anniversary, so congratulations.
Indeed.
In your view, what is the greatest success story to come out of SBS?
We've got 3,000 businesses, right? At different sizes, different levels of activity. I mean, the biggest success story is actually the fact that it exists and it allows small businesses, medium-sized businesses, all of a sudden to get a leg up, get PR, get a social media boost, a support from other SBS winners within the network. It boosts sales. It offers opportunity for them to collaborate together. It gets them together at our annual event to hear great speakers, talk to them and inspire them about what the future holds. But don't forget, it's really, really tough to be a small business. 50% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years. And that's normal, that's probably a normally because they just haven't got the skill set, the information, the support that they need. And some fail, but they go on to have really successful businesses because they've learned from their failures. So the whole gambit of SBS is to try and assist to lower that failure rate and give support and all the things that small businesses need. Listen, it's very tough. If you've got 2 or 3 kids and you're running a business on your kitchen table, dining room table, and you've got to balance a household, and it's a where do you go for help when things are not running your way? Who can you talk to that's got having the same experience or had the same experience? What I can guarantee you, somebody at SBS has, and somebody will be able to talk to you about it. And somebody, when you're having a tough time, is going to be having a really good time. And there's nothing better than to then talk to somebody to bring you out those doldrums and give you that burst of enthusiasm you desperately need again to get you going.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes that's all you need. I've seen some of the comments back and forth on the thread, and it's quite the community. As mentioned in the intro as well, you did struggle with dyslexia when you were at school. But from the research I've seen, it's been very interesting because it seems like people with dyslexia that struggled when they were at school, they were almost discouraged in a way. Like, you have this, so you can't do this kind of thing. But went on to be successful entrepreneurs because they have a lot of other qualities which they worked harder on, say, like social skills, people skills. How does that align with your experience of school and going into business?
Oh, that describes me. I mean, when I turned 16, they showed me the door. Not because I was particularly disruptive, but because I was lost cause.
Right.
I wasn't going to get any examinations.
Oh, so wait, they didn't even, they just dismissed you before you even took them?
Oh, I mean, I did sit a few, but it was, I mean, we end up with great big U's. I did, in fairness, I did get one certificate, and it was a Scottish certificate in colouring in maps. It was geography. And the reason I say it's a Scottish certificate is because we had the most amazing Scottish lady teacher who actually worked incredibly hard but got all our attention and made it very, very interesting. So I always call it my Scottish certificate in colouring in maps. It was clear that school wasn't for me, but even to get through to 16, I had to find loads and loads of workarounds to try and get my homework done, my work done. I couldn't do it in a traditional way. I was always problem solving to try and achieve what other kids were able to achieve in minutes. So it would
Yeah.
take me hours. So I would always find workarounds to actually deal with the issue. So when actually I went to work, dealing with problems and issues at work was a piece of cake. I've been doing it all my life. Whereas
Yeah.
some kids go to work, they've had an academic upbringing at school, sit there, and there's a problem. Now they've got a problem.
Yeah.
So that was one of the most wonderful things that I benefited from.
So what do you mean when you say workarounds? Could you elaborate a bit?
Ah, well, look, for instance, my first day at work, I had to go with a dictionary in my pocket.
Mm.
If I was doing numbers, which I'm not bad at, to be honest with you, I couldn't remember my times table. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I could find workarounds. For instance, if I needed to do 12 12s, it would be 10 12s, it's 120, and two more, 24, 144. Or I'd break it down to fives or threes or ones to get there, or find a percent, or find percentages.
Yeah.
So you always have to find different ways, but it takes longer. But you get there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's important.
And then, of course, for me, the biggest thing that changed my life was computers. I no longer had to worry about spelling or crappy handwriting or all these things I could get over. So, I really embraced technology very, very early.
I mean, that's an advantage in a way, isn't it?
It is an advantage and always has been. Hence, I embraced e-com and digital and I embraced computers. I had my first computers. I learned to program because there wasn't programs to give me what I wanted. So I thought, well, it can't be that difficult, can it?
It gives you a push. I mean, it's interesting to see that, say, Lord Sugar, Richard Branson, Jamie Oliver, they all have dyslexia as well.
Well, of course, a lot of dyslexic people are pushed to be entrepreneurs because they can't get a job anywhere else. But the key thing, of course, is it's very tough to get a job when you can't spell or you can't read very fast. Now, listen, I can read. Believe you me, I can read. And you give me a contract, and I will read it front to back, and I will I will understand it, and I will be as good as anybody else.
Yeah.
But it will take me 3 times as long than anyone else to do. It's just a speed thing.
Exactly. Fortunately, we are in a better place now, especially in schools, with
Yes.
picking up dyslexia earlier on and working longer exams, that sort of thing. But if you've got, say, somebody out there who's still at school, has dyslexia, wants to be an entrepreneur, what kind of things would you say to them?
Well, the good news is it will probably be one of the least resistant paths open to them because you find it hard to compete in the job sector when people have got all these qualifications and you haven't. But all I can say to them is make sure that when you want to become an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur doing something that you love and are passionate about. Because you become an entrepreneur doing lots of things, but find something that you're passionate about. Because on those dark, wet winter days, when things are not running according to plan, and you're down to your last few quid, you need that passion, that enthusiasm, that drive to get you out of it. And if you're doing something you're not really passionate about, then you just might throw in the towel. But it's about having the passion. Do something that you're passionate about. That's your best chance of success.
Well, that seems like a great place to wrap up. So thank you for coming on the podcast, Theo.
Absolute pleasure.
You can find out more about Theo at theopaphitis.com. You can also visit smallbusiness.co.uk for more articles on retail and supporting employees with dyslexia. Remember to like us on Facebook at Small Business Experts and follow us on Twitter at Small Business UK, all lowercase. Until next time, thank you for listening.